So I met an alien. He's kind of growing on me. At least he's not growing in me, which was a concern for a little while. I'm Grace. I'm gonna call you Rocky. Thumbs up. No, that's thumbs down. We do the thumbs up. It's close enough.
Hi, hello, vanakkam, vandana, namaste, namaskar. Welcome to the Curioser Show podcast episode 7. And today we are going to have a special episode. So today we'll be discussing the latest sci-fi drama adventure movie Project Hail Mary, which is directed by Christopher Miller and Phil Lord, starring Ryan Gosling, Sandra Hüller, and a lot of other characters. So today for this special episode, I have an interesting guest, a special guest whom I would say a well-wisher in my film Instagram journey, and one of the OGs of film Instagram, I would say. So welcoming Basundra Ghosh of Gangs of Cinepur fame. So welcome Basundra to our podcast.
Hi, Adityan. Thank you so much
How?
for inviting me. And
Yeah.
I'm coming here for the first time, obviously, and
Yes. Yes.
no better opportunity than to discuss Project Hail Mary, a movie that we both were very
Yes.
excited to watch
Yes.
for a long
Definitely.
time.
Definitely. We were actually
So,
planning a lot of ideas to collaborate, but finally for a podcast, but finally it all came cohesively for this point. So I love that.
yes,
So
definitely. This is
so
the,
Basu,
I mean,
yeah,
for the
yeah.
podcast, this might be the best idea we have ever had.
Yes, definitely, Basundra. So, for everyone, if anyone knows, if all of you guys might know, but Basundra is the admin of Gangs of Cinepur page, one of the pioneers in Indian film Instagram, I would say, on Indian films and content creation. And on the and this is in online life. Her offline life, she is a physics professor who has a PhD in cosmology. So, who better than her to choose? Who better than her to talk about Project Hail Mary in this podcast? So that's why I invited her for this. So I hope we'll be talking a lot of science and lot of the aspects that hit our chords right in our hearts for this movie. So let's start with first impression. So what did you think about Project Hail Mary movie in the first place when you watched it? How was your expectations, stuff like that, Vasundhara?
Yeah, so I had read the book like in August last year, so I finished reading it back then, and uh, the I don't remember when the trailer had exactly come, the first trailer maybe somewhere, or the announcement had come, and that's why I like the book so much. My like many other people who have read the book and
Yes.
loved it, and they were also waiting for the movie, so I was also waiting for the movie, and obviously I love Ryan Gosling as well, and I thought it was a
Yes.
perfect casting for the kind of the kind of character image that had
Character.
formed in my mind about Ryland Grace. So
Yes.
I was really happy with the casting also.
Mm.
Uh, Now I got to watch the movie after it released, unfortunately, a week later in India compared to the US or the rest of the
Yeah.
world, and
Yeah.
there was some issues with IMAX also. I think we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Um
Yes.
I watched it at this AMB Cinemas, Dolby Cinema, one of the few Dolby cinemas in India in Bengaluru.
Yes.
And
Yes.
actually, you were the one who encouraged me to go there.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
instead of waiting for the IMAX tickets, I went there. And it was a
Yeah.
great experience. Although I did want to watch in IMAX also later. Unfortunately, I did not get the chance. Maybe if it's still running, I'll go and watch if I get the time. But uh, the first impression was like it was a fantastic adaptation from book to movie, I would say. I somehow, but I did not feel as exhilarated I would have liked to after reading the book, because the book experience was something else. Okay.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of the science that was in the book was kind of lost in making the movie, which I understand, because you have a runtime. Although I heard like the overall cut was like 3 hours 45
Yes.
minutes or something like that,
Yes.
and I wouldn't really have minded if the movie was a little longer.
Yeah.
But I mean, they still did a pretty good job. Maybe it would translate better in a web series where more details could be included. But I don't have a lot of complaints as such. A few complaints that would be, about the marketing. Maybe that was necessary. How they revealed Rocky in the trailer itself, or how the whole marketing was centered around Rocky because they were selling these merchandise and
Yes.
Rocky puppets and this and that. So if one reads the book, they would come across Rocky after significant number of chapters in the book, and it's like a
Yes.
very grand revelation if you know nothing except the fact that there's a man who wakes up in space and doesn't remember anything. So that's how it starts, right?
Yeah.
But the whole idea of alien encounter and everything was a very important twist in, like, a little bit inside the book. So i I felt like people who have not read the book and directly went for the movie kind of missed out on that experience of feeling that aha moment. Uh, but I think a lot of the people who are waiting for the movie have actually read the book or even listened to the audio book, which I heard
Yes. Yes. Yes.
it's
Yeah.
probably even better than the book. I've not heard the audiobook, but yeah, but overall I think I rated it 4.5 stars on Letterbox. I wanted to give it 5 stars, but some reason I couldn't. I don't know, maybe it was I was too much on the hype, right? I
Yeah. Yeah.
really wanted to give it 5 stars, but it's like maybe I had too much expectations. But I don't have very serious complaints as well. So what about you,
Yes.
actually?
Yeah.
Have you read the
So
book, by the way?
I speed read the book actually. So before the release, before my show day, I speed read the book. So it's my first time in my entire life I speed read a book. I speed read a novel in my first time in my entire life, and it was pretty speed reading worthy of a novel because it's so engaging. You can't put the book away, put the book down. So that's how
Yeah,
page
yeah, I
turning
know.
it was actually. The Andy Weir's whole book. I mean, Andy Weir's first book itself, no, Martian itself, I love so much because in my high school, I used to yap a lot about it with my friends. So used to talk about it a lot. So that's how impactful Martian was for me. And Project Hail Mary, of course, our common friend Dara Parek used to recommend it a lot, but I didn't get the time to read it. And today this because of this Project Hail Mary release, I read the book, and it was so good actually. It brought back the curiosity that was somewhat dormant in me for some time. So
You became curiouser.
yes, again. Yeah, touche. So yeah, that's something. In the whole book, there is a one problem. You solve one problem, and after that another problem. Like that, there is a procedural kind of narrative in
Exactly.
the whole book. So that's how interesting, and lot of science, lot of culmination of lot of scientific fields out there. So it's something more interesting to see. After reading the novel, I didn't actually watch the trailer in the first place, but I was excited for the movie to unravel it, and the movie was just I watched in a ordinary 2D because the IMAX fiasco here with another film, Durandar 2 didn't share screens with Project Hail Mary IMAX screen, so they had to postpone it. And even after the postpone, they were like, no, we won't give you screens. IMAX CEO was like, we'll give you screen, we'll give Dan Project Hail Mary IMAX screens, but there was no opening till around 1 a.m. 1 a.m. I was seeing the bookings and no IMAX shows were open. So I gave up. I gave up that. Okay, let's see 2D first, then we'll go for IMAX rewatch, something like that. And to my surprise, during the release day, I think 26 March, something like that. During the release date, 12 p.m. IST only, we got one show IMAX screen in Chennai where I'm living. So that's something. I mean, what's this man? What's this man? One show, one IMAX screen show. What can it do? But that one show also got filled in seconds. So that's how the
Yes,
demand was.
because everybody like us, they were refreshing Book My Show all the time. So I can imagine so many people sitting and waiting for the opportunity.
Yeah. So everyone was waiting for it, and of course, there, of course. So on over the course of the upcoming days, the shows got increased, and now it's around five screens, five shows in the two IMAX screens here in Chennai. So that's how the demand is also, and it's filling. The seats are filling too. So that's how people are loving it, and loving it, and the rewatch worthy of film too. So people are going for second count, third count for this film. After a long time, I think for a sci-fi film, everyone is flocking in person and enjoying it a lot. For the film, as you also said, I mean, I wanted a lot of science to be in that movie, and but because in Martian there used to be, that balance, that strikes the right amount of balance of the problem solving, at the same time the spectacle was also there. But here they wanted to get the feels, the emotion part right. So they got the emotion part right. So once you get the emotion part right so much, they actually condense the science so much that people should understand. At the same time, it doesn't want to want to be complex in it a lot. So that's how interesting it was, and the movie was damn amazing. Even in a 2D screen, it was a CinemaScope screen. It was so good. Good projection as always in the city I was in Pondicherry. I was so good projection. So the kudos to that. So the experience, people were loving it. People were just laughing, enjoying it, and I was crying a lot for the film. I mean, even while reading the book, also I cried. So that's how the movie was. So that's how the piece of fiction was to me. So after watching the film, I watched my dad and mom. So they were also loved it. And over the past 2 weeks or so, just like you, just uh, I'm just exploring a lot about this movie. This movie made me do a lot of things. So yeah, we'll get back to that. I mean, we addressed about IMAX fiasco and our first impressions about the novel and everything. So let's get into the main part of this episode. So I want to discuss a lot of science with you behind this project Hail Mary, because that's the heart and soul of this piece of fiction. So, so first, let's first for starters, for people who are listening to this episode, if you have not watched I mean, everyone might have watched Project Hail Mary at this point. So if you haven't watched it, please do watch it and listen to this episode, because we will be talking with a lot of spoilers here. So please to watch the movie and come back to this episode for more science and spy science and a lot of breakdowns from this movie. So let's get over with it. Okay, so first the core of this film is a microorganism, a fictional microorganism called astrophage is eating the sun's energy, and because of this, there is a apocalyptic threat to the Earth. So what the people in Earth are doing is they are launching a space mission called the Project Hail Mary, which is the last shot to save humanity. And they send our protagonist Ryland Grace, played by Ryan Gosling, along with two others in that space mission, interstellar space mission. So in that space mission, what are the challenges they face? Did they save the Earth? Did they save the humanity or not? Is the plot of this movie. So for the first part is astrophage truly real in the first place? So we are getting astrophage, amoeba, some microbiological species like this in cosmological level. So is this really possible? If yes or no, what might have been the inspiration for this? So let's get on.
Yeah. So, first of all, I want to say I found this idea very interesting that they decided to include, microorganisms as alien species. Well, Rocky is not a microorganism, but in general, whatever science fiction movies we have had so far, most often they are, macroorganism,
Mm, yes.
alien species, and there's like a typical term for that also, like little green men. So you
Yeah.
imagine them as looking a certain way uh, when you think of aliens, whether it's ET or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Koi mil gaya.
so or Jadoo, yeah, why not?
Mm.
So when you think of microorganisms as aliens, it kind of makes it more believable, because we also know there's this hypothesis called panspermia, where it's believed that microorganisms floated through space, I mean, sitting on rocks and asteroids and meteors, and then there's a
Yes.
theory that they might have come from outer space and then settled in earth, and earth, that's how organisms of earth might have evolved. So it's not completely disproven there. I mean, it's a hypothesis, but you think of
Mm.
something like there was a meteorite or meteor that fell in Australia at some point, I think 1960s, called
Murchison meteorite.
Murchison meteorite. Yeah, yeah. So it was found to have many different kinds of organic materials like amino acids, etc., which act as the fundamental building blocks of life. So it was studied extensively. So it's not entirely impossible that alien microorganisms can exist, but astrophage obviously is very fictional. So is Taumiba, which is the, I mean, name given to the
The parasitic
some
species
kind of
which feeds
amoeba-like
on,
organisms.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that
which
they
feeds
collect
on the
from the,
Adrian planet.
yes, yeah. So from the Adrian planet, which was named after Rocky's partner. Uh,
Yes.
so it was near Tau City, and but the thing is with astrophage, it's very interesting because it has this enormous capacity to store energy, and then it is the kind of fuel of the spaceship. But these things are physically and thermodynamically speaking, it's not really possible. And also there's a notion of super cross sectionality, in which it kind of you know
Yeah.
allows neutrinos to stay
Neutrino.
inside. Yeah,
Yes.
so neutrinos, for those who don't know, neutrinos are particles which do not interact with matter at all. So like as you are sitting, there are hundreds of billions of neutrinos passing through and you have no clue, right? But what the astrophage is said to be doing, it is converting neutrinos into energy, and then that energy is enabling it to propagate through space and get near Venus, because it is attracted to the CO2 in Venus, which helps it reproduce, right? And it is drawing energy from the sun. So there's a back and forth movement between the sun and Venus, and in the
Yes.
process it is emitting this infrared light, which is called the Petrova line.
Right.
So as fascinating as this sounds, it's fictional, and so is
Yes.
Taumiba.
Yes.
And Taumiba also has this thing where it cannot thrive in a nitrogen rich
Nitrogen
environment.
rich.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so that is why when Grace decides to bring it to Earth's atmosphere, which is mostly nitrogen, he has to create a nitrogen resistant
Very.
variant, which
Yeah.
backfires and kind of makes him take a
Yeah.
different route
Yeah. Yeah.
altogether.
Yeah.
But the main idea here is that although these things are fictional, astrophage, for example, these are based on real life examples of organisms called extremophiles, the kind of organisms that can survive and sometimes even thrive in very extreme conditions, like
Yes.
high temperature or pressure, high salinity, or high pH, different extreme pH levels, too acidic, too
Yes.
basic. So there are like 6 7 categories of these kind of extremophiles, depending on what kind of
Yes.
environment they can stay in. So you might
Yes.
have heard of something like tardigrades, which can
Yes.
survive in the Arctic region, for example. So there are a bunch of organisms like this on Earth, so it's not unheard of. But
Yes.
what Andy Weir has done very interestingly is he has not built the foundations on complete random stuff, right? So there is some
Yes.
legit science behind it, which he has managed to extrapolate little bit and has
Yes.
given it some amount of credibility. I think that is the
Yes.
beauty of everything that comes in the story, and everything that fits like a puzzle.
Yes, so yeah, he actually, it's more surprising that he himself says he's a software engineer, but for a software engineer, he has a lot of interest towards this this physics, chemistry, biology. His first is in Martian, the lead character is botanist, and here we have a molecular biologist, but both of them in some way or the other talk a lot of physics, which is more surprising
Yes.
for us.
And the story
More
has a nice balance of biology, physics, chemistry, everything.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so I have not seen such a nice balance in any other science fiction film or
yeah.
story too. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was interesting. And even with in one of the scene in I mean in real life, we have you said tardigrades, which was also sent to space for experimentation on whether life would survive in space, and it survived by converting itself into a glass like thing in space. And we have moss spores which also survived in space or sometime in ISS, in International Space Station experiments they used. So stuff like, and there's something called archaea, which is actually one of the most precursors to bacteria. Which has been living for billions of years, and it doesn't it lives in oxygen less oxygen atmosphere, less oxygen places like quicksand, something like that. So we have seen that in archaea. So that's how man has taken a lot of inspiration from real world and extrapolated into a cosmological level with his astrophage and amoeba stuff like that, star amoeba. And so we lead on to the next thing. This film deals a lot with exoplanets. So we have Tau Ceti E, which is a real life exoplanet too, and Eridani AB, which is another exoplanet too. So what so for my question is that how these the exoplanet detection is happening in real life, and how do we determine whether this exoplanet is habitable or not?
So, as far as I know, there's one way of finding exoplanets is through this mechanism of microlensing. So you have, uh, exoplanets which are transiting around a star, and if they are coming in front of the line of sight of the star, then there's a dip in the brightness of the star. So that kind of helps us determine, because if it's a planet, it should be orbiting the star, right? So there's a
Yeah,
periodic motion involved with it. Uh, and habitability, obviously there's something called the Goldilocks zone. For example, Earth is in the Goldilocks zone of Sun, which means
yes,
that the conditions are just optimum for life to exist. um,
yes,
so water has to be in liquid form, and it should not be vaporized in the atmosphere, etc. But there are many factors that are involved. It's not that easy to understand habitability. um,
yes,
so there are all these different kinds of planets, like I don't know, some Kepler
okay.
186f, or
Mhm.
Trappist even. So we might have heard of Trappist 1, for example. So
Yes,
so far around 5,000 plus exoplanets have been discovered. Um, but there are a lot of things that need to be looked at. So whether the atmosphere is suitable, how much greenhouse effect there is, whether the magnetic field is protecting from radiation, or if there's a carbon cycle, in the geological activity. So all these things
yeah.
matter. So you cannot just look at a Goldilocks zone and determine whether it's habitable or not. So
That's why
all
he
these
has
things.
in his thesis also, even Eva Strand points out in his thesis, in Ryland Gray's thesis, like there is a part which says
Yes.
Goldilocks zone is for idiots.
Right. And the way he kind of he received a lot of hate from the scientific community for saying that, water is not essential for life forms. And
Yes.
he was very disappointed to find that astrophage also has water in it. So he was
Yes.
like, oh no, I had one chance, one I
Yeah.
came in contact with one alien organism, and it could have proven my theory correct, but it did not. And someone, I saw a comment somewhere that people were saying, oh, I'm disappointed that he did not test the you know test whether Rocky has water, or Rocky needs water,
Yeah, yeah.
kind of. So I think by that time he had accepted that water has to be there. Yes.
Yeah,
Cannot
definitely,
be.
definitely. I mean,
Yes.
even as you said about Kepler 22b, which is the first exoplanet to be found in a habitable zone, the Goldilocks zone. We are saying in 2011 they found the Kepler Space Telescope, Kepler Space, which has this liquid water, of course, and Kepler big when gas and there's also Kepler 62e, Kepler 62f, 69c, 61b, which are, and to 2017 we got the TRAPPIST one system, which has this cool dwarf star system, where four planets are in this Goldilocks zone. But there was this one another planet, the K218 planet, which K218b, which revolves around a red dwarf star called K218, so which has this dimethyl sulfide. So with this dimethyl sulfide, they're saying that not only you require, as Ryland Grace himself says, and you say, uh, mm, not only liquid water is required for life existence, but also there can be something dimethyl sulfide, carbon dioxide, nitrogen. Also in those extreme environment, also life can thrive. Is what Ryland Gray says, and of course the scientific communities research is also saying. So this different perspectives on how life can exist. There's no certain rule. I mean, once you get to a certain point, there's no certain rule for life should exist like this. Life can exist in different forms. Even with this film also, in the book also, there is this one line about Rocky which says faces are overrated when he first meets Rocky. So I mean, it just break the notion that you don't life shouldn't be like, this green-eyed aliens, something like that, as you said. So
Right.
it can be in various form, micro level to a macro level. In macro level too, it can be with the different features. It can feature the life can be with different features. So one question I want to ask is, so I heard so we heard that this Eridani this another planet called Tau Ceti also are different planets. So we are saying this red dwarf system, blue dwarf system. So how do we classify stars in the first place?
Classify. You mean in terms of their evolution and birth and death and all these things?
Yeah. As
So,
as
that
your
I
domain
cannot.
is also cosmology, so
No, I know, but it's more like astrophysics and cosmology. But so, what I can tell you, especially at least for the solar system,
yeah.
which there are different phases of the phases in which a star evolves, and like a
Mm,
star is born and evolves and dies. So, if you have to think of whether the sun is actually dimming with or without the presence of astrophage, uh, which is fictional, obviously. But what we expect right now, the sun is in a stage which is called the main sequence phase. Okay, so it's like
yes.
properly burning and everything. So it was around 4.6 billion years ago the sun was formed, etc. But it is expected that before dying, it will actually glow more brightly.
Mm,
Okay, because the core will kind of collapse in itself and the outer part of the sun will kind of detach itself from the core, and the brightness is going to increase, and then eventually it will dim out. Okay, so this is the path that the sun is going to follow. um, so there are different phases of this, so it's not necessary that, if there is an intervention from something like astrophage, it's going to dim out, etc., but that's not going to happen. But if you want to ask what is the classification of stars, so there are red dwarfs and white dwarfs, etc., these kind of stars. Now red dwarfs are also kind of a stage in the evolution of a star where it is not glowing bright, or like it cannot have a, a planetary system that is habitable
mm,
at all. Okay, um, because there has to be a certain amount of energy that it provides for it to have a habitable planetary system like the sun does. White dwarfs are actually towards the end of the life cycle of a star. So if we know what the Chandrasekhar limit is, which is uh, um, a star, it reaches the white dwarf stage after it becomes 1.4 times the mass of the sun. So
Master, yeah.
1.4 solar mass is the limit. And after that so called Chandrasekhar limit, it becomes a white dwarf, which is followed by it becoming a neutron star or a black hole. So that
Black hole.
spells the doom. Okay.
Yes.
So, and that happens through a supernova explosion. So the star will explode and the core will shrink, and then everything is done. Okay.
Mm.
But the classification of stars, it's basically, I think it's done based on the stage of evolution in which it is. I don't know much about non-sun like stars to
Yeah.
elaborate on this. Would you like to add to this?
Non so I also have the same knowledge as you. So I can only say in terms of sun-like stars, because as it's the nearest example we can think of. So nearest most accessible example we can think of. So as you said the perfect, as you said right, as you said clearly about how sun evolves, sun's evolution is in the perspective of how can it fizzle out of fuel in 5 billion years or so, like that. So one of the most interesting, while reading about this sun dimming, I got to hear something during the ice age. In the ice age, what in last major ice age before 2.6 million to 11,700 years ago, there was this last major ice age where the global temperatures were only about 6 degrees centigrade, something like that, which caused a lot of which caused a lot of famine, crop failures in the northern hemisphere. So, so there was so is this shows that how there was some kind of sun's luminosity decreasing, with sun's luminosity decreasing and increasing. There's fluctuating thing with the sun, and how it affected a lot in earlier years, and how this has been the inspiration for astrophage and living stuff. So that was kind of interesting for me, how this dimming was not fictional, of course, but they took some inputs from from historically, how ice age might have affected, and how sun's part plays in it. So that was interesting to me, so that I wanted to add a lot. So that was kind of
Oh, I
interesting.
forgot to mention one important thing. Like when you're classifying stars, the main thing is, obviously size matters, and kind of what is going on its core, right? So
Hmm.
uh, I was focused more on the sun because it's our star. But what I meant as main sequence, so main sequence stars are those that are burning hydrogen and helium in its core, and then, like I said, at different stages it becomes a red giant or a white dwarf, or this and that. So a normal star, most of the stars are at the main sequence phase at some point, and then before they die out, depending on how their size is shrinking, they enter the different phases. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah. So that's that. So there's you cleared that point too. So thank you. So another interesting aspect in this film is how they show art scientific methods, like how spectroscopy is used for star detection, and how spectrum we deal with a lot of spectrums in this novel and movie a lot. So as they will say, petrovaline IR spectrum. Petrol line is the IR spectrum line. So I want to ask is how spectrum classification plays an important role in in determining life's existence in other planets and star composition, like that.
So the spectra that so it's like, um how to explain. Wait, I'm just thinking a little bit. It will cut this part out.
Yeah, yeah,
Um so, spectra means the kind of emission you are receiving from a star, and then you are able to understand what is the chemical composition of elements in that star, right?
yes, yes,
So
yes.
whether that star will be able to support life or not gets determined a lot by what kind of elements like I said, if a star is very active and actively burning hydrogen and helium in it, then it is possible, like it is giving out energy to the planetary system it is supporting. Okay, now there are, like we talked about Goldilocks zone and this and that, there are many factors involved whether habitability can be supported or not.
Mm.
Okay. But in general, the study, that is spectroscopy, is essential for understanding at what stage of life the star is in and whether it is useful for the planets in any way. Okay. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, or you want me to
I,
you
I
want me
mean,
to talk about IR part.
yeah. So I in it's Petrova line. So I wanted to ask, what is this Petrova line in this movie? Because people were pretty much confused with how this Petrova line is
Okay,
portrayed in this.
so this Petrova line does not have anything to do with the composition of a star.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, it is fictional again because it's named after somebody, some Petrova person.
Petrova in that movie itself, they say.
Yeah. So I think that person was also an amateur astronomer, if I'm not wrong,
Yeah.
because what happens is that professionals, they are looking out farther into the sky than amateurs. So amateurs do not have that very developed instruments or telescopes to look so far in the sky, so they'll look nearby. Nearby in this case means our solar system. So
So
that's why some amateur astronomer who luckily got the thing named after them, they observe this infrared spectra from the sun to Venus, and that
it's
is because the astrophage is emitting that infrared light because it is propelling itself through space. So it's kind of, in order to conserve energy, it is giving out some energy because it wants some momentum forward, like a rocket, like how a rocket works. So if you have to propel yourself, you have to eject something,
okay.
right? So that
Newton's third law.
ejection is, yeah, third law. So that ejection is basically the Petrova line,
Okay.
uh, and that is in the IR spectrum.
The IR spectrum zone.
Yeah,
So just like this Petrova line, have we seen some star emissions in different star systems like this? I mean, not exactly about astrophage like that. I'm saying how this kind of Petrova line stuff can happen in real life. I'm asking. Emitting, emitting thing is shown in IR spectrum
no,
like
but
that.
this is not, there's nothing to do with the star, right? It's the emission that the astrophage is giving out. Yeah, because it's
Okay.
moving from the sun. So the line is starting from the north pole of the sun and then like turning towards Venus. That's what's mentioned in the book. So the
Okay.
astrophage is going there, taking
Mm.
energy, then traveling to Venus, and in the process it is emitting that infrared spectrum.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you for clarifying that part because I was pretty confused with the petrol line part in the movie, so movie and book also. So that's why. So that way I want to clarify that. And another part. I mean, this is not mentioned in the movie, but this is mentioned in the book in the first place about how astrophage actually gets energy like they use antimatter and matter, pair production, annihilation stuff they used to explain about it in the book. They also say this about super cross sectionality, which is of course fictional, but we don't of course fictional. But I want to ask this about what is they saying the cosmic rays. They talk about cosmic rays being part of the energy production in astrophase. So I want to ask what's cosmic rays. What's cosmic rays? What's this pair protection, pair annihilation, stuff like that, and how in this movie or book it plays a role. I want to ask.
So cosmic rays, obviously they contain a lot of high energy particles, right? So it's mostly hydrogen and helium nuclei. So they're traveling through space at like near the speed of light, and they're constantly bombarding Earth. And the cosmic rays also originate from the sun also, and like from
Yeah.
distant dying stars, supernova, etc.
Mm.
So the cosmic rays, they split into primary rays, Okay, and they strike the atmosphere, and then there's a shower of secondary particles, and these secondary
Okay.
particles are mostly um, neutrinos and stuff.
Okay.
So neutrinos and I don't know, positrons probably.
Yeah. Neutrinos
uh,
and positrons play a role.
yeah, yeah. So somehow this astrophage, they're capturing the neutrinos, keeping it within themselves, because the super cross sectionality, it prevents the neutrinos from tunneling out, because these
Hmm.
are obviously quantum mechanical, very high speed particles, relativistic particles.
Yes. They
So
pass the potential. They
right,
go through the potential.
since they're right, so since they're able to keep those neutrinos within them, and neutrinos are almost massless, they have a very little mass. Now previously it was believed that neutrinos are massless, but then there was a phenomenon that, like neutrino oscillations etc., that proved that neutrinos have a little bit of mass. So but still they are, because they have very little mass and they are relativistic and can travel almost at the speed of light. So if anybody can store those neutrinos, they can produce a very very high amount of energy. Just E is equal to mc square, pure Einstein stuff. Okay, so that is what causes the astrophage to have these very fast speeds, which they can use to propagate through space. um, so I think cosmic rays are what kind of helping astrophage to gather those neutrinos and store in their body, is what my understanding is.
Okay, okay, okay. So, I mean, in the movie, they haven't mentioned a lot about this cosmic answer because it would be like a lot of contrivance to the plot. So a lot. So even they also with a lot. So I mean, in this movie, I like them. I like how they didn't overcomplicate with the astrophysics. They just made it so simple for the audience. But in the book, this. So I wanted to ask this to you, and
Yeah, cosmic
you put
rays
a,
are real for sure, yes.
yeah, yeah,
But whether you can harness the energy of cosmic rays, like I said, it's all extrapolation, right? Which is
yeah.
wonderfully done, in fact. Whether you can harness energy of cosmic rays is the question. In practical life, you cannot, right? So, but in the story, you can. If you're an astrophage, you can.
So, yeah, but in cosmology, how cosmic rays used in cosmological research in the first place?
Cosmological research, it does not play any role.
Okay, I
Uh,
mean generally in astrophysics. I mean astrophysics in general.
mhm. So these are kind of I mean, these are particles coming from outer space. So if you study them, you get to know something about outer space. More or less, that's the idea. Okay.
Okay,
Some, if because I said they can be, they can come from the sun. Okay, or supernova explosions, or what we know as active galactic nuclei, which are you know in places around supermassive black holes. So they kind of tell you something about what is happening around those regions. So
okay.
in that sense, yes. But so you can try to trace back to where they came from and what happened there, etc. But I don't know how much advancement has happened in this area.
Okay. Okay. So another interesting aspect in this film is how energy mass equivalence is used to explain about how astrophage can be used as a fuel for the Project Hail Mary mission. So that so my question is that if what first explain to me what energy mass equivalence is, and how is it possible to have this 100% efficient 100% we can convert all the energy into mass, like stuff like that in real life. So that's what I want to ask you.
No, you cannot, because there will be some violation,
Yeah.
no. So, when we are talking about mass energy equivalence, and energy can be converted into mass and vice versa. If you are to
Hmm.
ask that if it's 100% possible, the
Hmm.
only example where it is like near 100% possible is matter antimatter annihilation,
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of. So, if you collide electron and a positron together, and you get gamma rays out of it. So gamma rays is again photons, right? So
Mm,
electromagnetic radiation. um, but what would happen is that you need a lot of antimatter for that to happen,
mm,
if because we know that there's more matter in the universe than antimatter. So the
mm,
only reason why everything is still existing is because of this matter antimatter asymmetry.
mm.
Both were equal in, uh, like both were equal in amount, then
Yes.
everything would have annihilated by now, and like
Yes.
all
Yes.
the mass
Yes.
would have converted to energy. So that's kind of probably the only. So you can also think of other things like nuclear fusion reactions, or something like even the atom bomb, which is a good example of is equal to mc square
Yes. Yes.
um, demonstration. The atom bomb that they built in during World War II, the Manhattan Project.
Yes.
But a lot of those, the energy was lost as heat or sound or all these things. So there's always some amount of
Yes.
energy
Yeah.
that's being lost. You're not converting completely into the energy that you were interested in, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, if we had a balance of 100% antimatter, 100% matter, boom, everything in this planet would be
yes, Tata
destroyed
Bye.
pieces. So yeah, that's what I want to ask. So
Hi, Grace.
You're in a ball.
So Rocky, no Diane Grace atmosphere. I come up.
Oh, you're coming up.
Foreign body detected.
Grace and Rocky, big science. How to kill astrophage together. I keep going this way? This room boring.
Rocky!
Science, save Earth, save Earth. Good plan. What this down here question? Amazing. Rocky, what is the human technology? Dirty. Why room so messy?
Well, I
question.
wasn't expecting company, was I?
This
the segue I'm going to is that the film tries to explain with energy mass equivalence how astrophage can be used as a fuel, and they gave a more extrapolated expression like how 100% it can be used as the energy can be converted to mass. And we see in the movie they don't show how they reproduce, I mean, breed the astrophage at a large scale a lot, because in the book they use this Sahara desert. They bomb Antarctica, and they also use this Sahara desert and solar panels to harness that energy, stuff like that they use. So that, I mean, it's kind of uh, in the book also they say that's a lot of energy resources they waste. But it's again it's fictional, so we have to extrapolate a lot of ideas. So that's the thing I wanted to say about this movie. And because in the movie they only show an explosion on how this astrophage, one small mistake can be explosive in terms of breeding this astrophage as a fuel. So this fuel is used for the Project Hail Mary mission, and they go for this interstellar space travel. So my interstellar space travel, and in that space, the spaceship design itself is pretty different from whatever the movie has showed, because they use this centrifuge configuration and thrust configuration. Two configurations were used in this movie spaceship. So I wanted to ask you about what is this centrifuge configuration in creating this artificial gravity, and how artificial gravity is it possible in real life? I want to ask you.
Yeah, I mean, all the spaceships and all, they do use artificial gravity because, I mean, if you're in the International Space Station and you're not always floating around, the idea
Mm.
is to have, um, create a gravity so that the relation goes like G is equal to omega square R.
Yeah.
So omega is the angular frequency of the object,
Yes.
like
Yes.
the spaceship
Yes.
is rotating.
Yeah.
So it will create a sensation of um, fake gravity on like the walls of the spaceship. right?
Yeah.
So that is possible. That is rotating spaceship creating artificial gravity is also something we have seen in Interstellar, for example.
Yeah, in Interstellar, and of course in the most iconic space movie of all time, which is the 2000 Space Odyssey.
Right, right.
They use a spin. They spin the whole
Hmm.
ship like in an axis, and from that axis, like kind of centrifuge, the centrifuge configuration in the movie they show. In the movie they show, and of course in Project Hail Mary also they say how the centrifuge configuration creates the artificial gravity, so that no humans can uh, no humans can mm, won't feel the weightlessness a lot. They can actually, because in zero gram in weightlessness, people can lose bone density a lot in microgravity situations in space. So that's why they are exercising a lot in space to not lose that bone density. So that's why to overcome this, artificial gravity is used to generate with the centrifuge configuration in Interstellar. And of course this movie has shown a lot. So I want a more clear explanation on how this works in this movie.
So one centrifuge issue I can talk about quickly.
Yes.
That is the controversy that molecular biologists have been raging
Yeah.
out at. Why did you put these two tubes side by side? They
Yes.
should be put opposite to each other because you need to balance the mass. And
Yeah.
so people have been saying, "Oh, this is totally wrong," and all, which is probably is. So he what he does is places the two tubes side by side,
Yeah.
and then he rotates the thing, right,
Yeah.
to separate the densities of the
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
solution.
That is the solution.
But I think maybe they created a self-balanced centrifuge. I don't know.
Yeah, we can justify with that reason. But what the thing I love about Andy Weir himself is that he admits to his own scientific mistakes in his movie, in his books, which I loved it so much. Which I love his honesty in that he himself admits how the I mean he has not admitted with this micro centrifuge controversy, but in general I'm saying how he himself admits a lot with this scientific mistake. So he wants to grow a lot. He wants to grow as a writer, as a creator. So that I loved its honesty with this. But coming back to our topic of
Yeah, yeah.
but coming back to
Artificial
our talking
gravity.
about artificial gravity. So we we are
So
seeing
if
that
you have a rotating space station, okay, so the centrifugal force acts like a radial force in the radial direction. Okay,
mm,
so is the hull of the spacecraft,
mm,
which will provide a centripetal force.
mm,
Okay, and the centrifugal force will be felt by the object in a direction downwards towards the hull. So
yeah,
that kind of creates the impression that you are attached to an object that is attracting you gravitationally. So that's kind
mm,
of a visual idea. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of things
practical
that have to be
implication.
kept in mind. Yeah,
Yes.
so first of all you have to be able to achieve 9.8 meter per second square, because that's the acceleration due to gravity that you as a human being are used to. And you also need a large radius of
Which is
rotation.
which is
Yes,
impossible right now, because even ISS is small compared to our International Space Station itself. It has lot of components, and they took around
yes.
36
And you cannot also be rotating it to, because so like I said, it's like acceleration due to gravity is equal to omega square r. So your rotating speed will matter, and your radius will also matter. You have to get the optimum values to achieve that g. That's why
yeah,
I don't think they have been able to achieve a g that is really what we need. I'm
yeah.
not sure that has been possible in real life. Otherwise you will feel dizzy and you will be directionless. You won't be able to stay in one place.
Yes, because while spinning in a in a long in a larger speed, stuff like that, we will be we can see there is a there is a lot of issues with how humans can handle that much of speed with in terms of their body. They will feel nauseous. In nauseous, they'll be the circulation will be different when spinning. So
Yeah.
uh, we need a lot of as you
So you
said
need
we
a
use
radius of around 200 meters or something, which is pretty large.
which is pretty large, which is so large. We need a lot of components and we need a lot of uh, round trips to go to space and launch because for launching ISS International Space Station itself, it took around 36 launches of 36 launches of space shuttle launches to just uh, to just to just build this whole ISS International Space Station, and now they are also building another space station with India also is building their own space station. So, mm, uh,
Yes.
but with this rotating space stations, the space station we need more building more components and more amount of aluminum to be used, so which is something practically not possible at this point, but soon we might soon, I mean, not in the near future, but in the far future, we might get artificial gravity simulating mm, space stations, which would be used for interstellar space travel. So yeah, so so yeah, with interstellar space travel, with this regard, another segue I wanna get to this. The film doesn't really talk about how Hail Mary travels at a speed of light, the speed equivalent to the speed of light, and how time dilation affects the spaceship and the communication with Earth. So in the movie too, when he wakes up, he just realizes how it takes around 11 years or so to just communicate with Earth with the next message. So, but in the spaceship, he experienced only 4 years. So tell me something about tell me something about time dilation in general, and how time dilation in this movie plays a great role.
So time dilation is a consequence of special theory of relativity, again given by Einstein. So it tells you that if you have a twin, so this is like an easy way to understand this. If you have a twin and one of you is sent to space,
Hmm.
depending on how fast you have moved to space, so that
Hmm.
velocity is very very important.
Hmm.
um, you will experience a certain number of years, and your twin back on earth will experience more number of years. And the best example of that is in Interstellar. Not a twin, but Cooper's daughter, where by the
Yeah.
time he comes back, she's like super old and almost dying, and he's still young.
Yeah.
uh, so Interstellar is an extreme example because they're literally traveling long distance. Also, he entered a black hole and everything. It's kind of extreme, right? Project
Hmm.
Hail Mary is still a little bit humble on that aspect, I would say, because
Yeah.
it's only targeting a star that is around
Year
12 light years away. So tau city is 12
yes, yes.
light years. But he also
11.98
goes a bit
years.
further. He goes to Eridani, 14
Eridani.
Eridani.
Yeah.
Uh, which is around, I think, 16 light years away
16
from
late
Earth.
years. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So because he had to take a detour because he wants
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
save Earth, etc.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I don't think I don't remember if they exactly mentioned what speed the spaceship was moving in, but probably it's like only half the speed of light, which is
Yeah.
significantly
Point 5
large.
C.
Point 0.5, point 0.5. But that wouldn't cause such a huge change in such a huge time dilation. Okay,
Hmm.
so I haven't done the calculation, but um, probably around, maybe if he is experiencing 4 years, like you said, on Earth they're experiencing 11 years or
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that. 10, 11 years. It's not as extreme as you coming back from space and finding your daughter on the deathbed. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
Or not even, Miller's planet, where 1 hour is equal to 7 Earth years. That's too
7
much.
Earth years.
Right.
Yeah.
But time dilation is a real thing, but it's still a very science fiction-y thing because we haven't been able to achieve that much of speed yet, and not going to happen in the foreseeable future unless you have a
Yeah.
fuel source like astrophage. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Uh, so something else that also happens due to special theory of relativity, it's called length contraction. So if
Yeah.
time on earth is getting uh, the clock in space is running slower, then
Yeah.
there's also a thing where on the length in space is getting contracted, that also.
Yeah. Length
So
in space
these
gets
are,
contracted.
yeah,
There was
these
this
are
one
direct.
experiment where they use where was this one experiment in 1971 where they used two aeroplanes where they kept this uh, two atomic clocks in that aeroplanes, and they flew one from one from northern hemisphere and one from southern hemisphere. Sorry, not northern hemisphere. Sorry, eastwards. One in the eastwards, one in westwards, and from when they meet at a certain point, there was some delay with the timing.
Very
Uh,
small delay. Yeah.
very small delay. So that's one of the practical experiments where they show how time dilation is in reality how but it's just like minimal changes only
So
we can
you
see.
need to have that much of precision in your clock also to measure.
Yeah, yeah.
But so the relation goes like this. So change in time uh, in space is equal to change in time on Earth divided by root over 1 minus v square by c square, where v is your speed at which, like the speed in space in which you are moving. So now if v is very very close to c, then that the time dilation becomes all, like the t on the left hand side becomes almost infinite, right?
Yes.
uh, so the closer to the speed of light you can go, the slower your clock will run. That's the point.
Yes.
But because we cannot achieve that amount of what we call
Light
luminal
speed.
speed, or even
Yes.
superluminal speed is higher than that. So even if you go like zero point 0.8 times the speed of light, for example, you still have a finite value in your denominator. So it's not
Hmm.
that close to infinity, but it's high enough to uh, slow down your clock significantly.
Okay. Yeah, so
Sorry if
that's
the math is difficult to visualize, but it's best understood by having the equation in front of you.
yes, yes, yes. So as in the movie itself, they show how Ryland Grace experienced 4 years, but Earth in Earth it's like 11 years equivalent to that. So I mean it's small detail they show in movie, but in the book with the Ryland Grace he actually says that about how, oh my God, I'm decelerating, so how I'm going at this speed, so I'm at the spaceship. Okay, I'm not here. I'm not here. I'm not at solar system where I'm at. No, I'm
Yeah,
at
yeah.
this Tau city. So like that he finds out how. I mean, there is a
Yeah, this
kind of a
procedural
procedural.
thing that you mentioned, I think that's the beauty of the whole thing, which unfortunately they skipped through in the movie. Because as people from science backgrounds, we appreciate these things a lot, right?
Yes, yes, yes,
Nothing comes to you in flash, like okay,
yes,
you suddenly come to a conclusion. At some point it might happen like a sudden eureka moment, but otherwise it's like step by step you
yes,
make conclusions based on one particular thing you
one,
found out. So
yes,
that is how it
yes,
works,
one
right?
battle after another. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So in this regard, so we talked about artificial gravity. We talked about time dilation in this movie. I think we talked about Goldilocks zone, exoplanets, dimming of the sun. I think we talked about how astrophage is used, astrophage and reality. So I think we covered a lot the basic the science that the physics that the movie talks a lot about. I mean, majorly talks, I guess. So I think we didn't leave a lot. I guess so. So, but do you have anything other than this to talk about? in terms of the movie's physics like that.
Yeah, so this
I
this
mean,
I want to quote kind of what the author himself said in an interview about how he came up with the whole idea of how Rocky should be, etc., etc. So I really like how physics and biology, or what we call astrobiology, or finding
yes.
information about extraterrestrial life. So because there's a thing, I mean, how his planet works, how Rocky's planet works, will determine how he will be as a life form, right? Like
Hmm.
our planet determines how we are as a life form. So his planet is called Erid. His planet is called Erid, right? And his star
Yeah,
is
yeah.
Eridani. Called
Eridani,
Eridani.
Eridani. Yes, 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 yes,
I
yes.
also came across. I'm not sure if it's correct, but in Star Trek, Spock it was also from the same
Spock's planet is also the 440 Eridani
Vulcan.
AB Vulcan,
Yeah, yeah,
Vulcan,
same
which is
same
also based
system.
on the same Eridani system.
Yeah,
Another,
but I don't think they really thought that through. But
yeah,
how Rocky structure. So first of all, his planet is closer to the star than Mercury is closer to sun. So
yeah,
there is this thing about the star itself affecting the atmosphere of the planet directly. So if
hmm,
there are flares from the star,
hmm,
imagine the sun, Earth is very close to the sun, and all the solar flares will come and will affect the atmosphere. Already
yeah.
we know there's this ozone layer and this and that, those things.
Earth's magnetic field
But
itself is protecting us
right,
from the magnetic storm.
but
Yes, yes.
if the elements in the atmosphere are kind of uh,
Hmm,
pushed away by the
hmm,
flares of the star, that doesn't really help. So what
hmm.
Andy Weir decided is to have ammonia, which is a heavy molecule in the atmosphere, which cannot be really pushed away. But that also means it has to have a very
Yes,
thick atmosphere, and also heavy gravity. So that's why these are like organisms which are very strong and sturdy. That's why they have like rocks for their body,
yeah,
and they are kind of more closer to the ground. So 8 arms and like slouching on the
yes.
ground, these kind of structure. And because the atmosphere is thick, light cannot pass through, light from their
Enter.
star cannot. So there's no point in having eyes.
Yes.
So that's why they don't see, they communicate or understand things through echolocation. And maybe that's why they don't have a concept of radiation, a
No.
bit a bit shaky, because radiation does not only mean visible light. And
Yeah.
without the understanding of electromagnetic radiation, they probably wouldn't. I don't understand how they even figured out space travel if they don't understand radiation and relativity. That's something I have a question about. But I appreciate the fact that there was a lot of thought that went into how the whole planetary
Heredity.
system and the atmosphere and the anatomy or the constitution of the Rockies should be.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of thought gone into this, into building this whole world with real life science, and of course they infused a lot of fiction in it. Of course, you said how we wouldn't have thought also when extraterrestrial organisms life come here in contact in Earth. They are suddenly more accustomed to this Earth's gravity, Earth's atmosphere, stuff like we wouldn't have thought like that. But he put a thought like, why they have to accustom? They can be in their own system, because in the movie also we see Rocky himself Rocky himself he builds his own cage. He gives his whole ball cage which has this atmosphere, which is ammonium filled, where he can live in this, and not in not in our grace ship, which is filled with oxygen. So he can't the atmosphere changes, so he can't really Rocky can't live in the, can't accustom to that part. So that part was
Yeah,
interesting to
also
me.
one interesting thing is the xenonite, the solid material that he sends stuff. Xenon, we know that xenon is a noble gas and it doesn't
Yes.
really exist in solid form, but it actually can
Yes.
interact with fluorine or gold to
Yes.
form certain structures.
Fluorine. Yes. Xenon
Xenon
fluoride.
trifluoride
Fluoride.
exists. Yeah, but I'm not sure about the solidified form, or even if it's
Yeah.
solid. I don't think it can be used to make like polymers or plastics or stuff like that. But so that's
Exactly.
also,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's also a
Continue.
fictional element that has been added, but again based on real uh, examples.
So yeah, so there's this one chemist called Neil Bartlett in 1968, 1960s and 70s. What he did was he used this he only did this stuff of how xenon can react with fluoride. Xenon fluoride is the compound he created, which actually made this new breakthrough of how noble gases can be reactive to Neil Bartlett, which is something of a weird chemistry going down there, and weird chemistry going on. And if you really have to crystallize xenon, means you have to have a temperature of around minus 101.78 degrees centigrade, which is so
Oh,
low, which is so low.
I see.
Or you have
Hmm.
or you have to subject it to a pressure of around 140 gigapascals, which is another most impractical I would say. But if you want to crystallize, means this xenon fluoride is actually used in a lot of in some researches, but in astronomical researches too, it's used for astronomical research is used. This one of xenon fluoride is what inspired Andy Weir to make his own version of how what might what can be how can I mean if xenon can be in a solid form like xenonite stuff like that. So that's so when we go deep into this, I mean this movie actually I have to appreciate this movie for making all of us go into a rabbit hole of how these
Yeah,
things can exist in real life. I mean,
I
this is
learned
the
so
first.
many new things. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was it was same to myself too. I learned a lot of personally new things. Like I mean, for the first time, I'm discovering how xenon can be used. Xenon can be used in its compound, can be reactive and compound form, and how it can be crystallized, which is more interesting to me. So that's some weird chemistry down there. So yeah, regarding this, regarding another thing is we have talked about how Rocky's evolution. I mean, Rocky's evolution as being can be used. How geological factors come into the play in terms of how evolution of species can be. In a way, it talks about how all the species we see in our planet too, like in for example in Mariana Trench, the deepest point of the earth itself, there is a lot of organisms in those extreme temperatures, extreme pressures. Some organisms without any eyes or ears like that, they are existing down there. So that's something interesting. And even films like some in another film which is one of my favorite film, Avatar franchise, where with different ecosystems, how in water ecosystem the species the intelligent species will have their hands like gills, stuff like that. I mean, their uh, respiratory system will be different from whatever land people have in this respiratory system. So how these how these anatomical changes happen within ecological perspective, within ecological zones. How different kinds of different kinds of fields coalesce into this uh, this evolution of this design of rocky species is something more interesting to me. How something that feels so fascinating to me, why how in our planet itself we have these different organisms and exoplanets in other planetary systems also we have this diversified species, the diversified species, which of course can't don't have to be intelligent, but it's kind of it's life, of course. So it's a kind of life. So we want it's in a way, Project Hail Mary makes us to appreciate the diversity we have among us in this planet, so in this planet, in this universe. Project Hail Mary appreciates the diversity in the species, and our perception of how different, how intelligent life, how life can, how we have to contact, we have to be, because in the first this in the thing about Rocky's design is that it doesn't have to dominate human beings, or it enslave human beings, or destroy planet Earth. Not like that. They are not. It's not shown as threat in the first place. It's shown as a curious. He's also an engineer. It's what his character design. So he's also a curious being of how everything works around him. So that's collaborate, that camaraderie we see with him. He also wants to interact with the human, and with the Ryland Grace. And Ryland Grace is also in the first place he's hesitant, but when he overcomes hesitation, he gets to contact with this species, and with Rocky, and he both of them big science make this make their own
Hmm.
make their own solutions to their problems. So yeah, so and I mean, in a way it emphasizes how the different the approach to this, I mean, the approach for how extraterrestrial beings can be portrayed is what made Project Hail Mary different from other piece of fiction we have seen throughout this, right?
I always love a friendly alien.
Yes,
So, and whether it's ET or Koi Mil Gaya or this and that, but
I
even I think the
also
my most smartest alien film I've seen before
mm,
this
Project
Project
Hail
Hail Mary
Mary
was this
is
is Arrival,
Arrival.
because of the linguistics part. And now many linguists are also unhappy that how did Ryland Grace understand Rocky's language so easily. It took him a lot of time, actually. If you read the book, that's
Yeah,
different from what they showed in the movie. In the movie it was pretty easy for him to like record sounds and
yeah,
follow pattern, etc.
yeah, but
But
yeah,
Hmm. But this whole collaborative idea is kind of what I also made a post about, the need of the hour, the
yes,
sense across a message of friendship and brotherhood in a world where people are literally fighting each other all the
hostile.
time. But it's also very utopian,
Yes, yes,
because
yeah.
not just because it's science fiction, but utopian also in terms of being
Mm.
selfless for each other. It's not
We'll get
that
to the
easy to
utopian
imagine.
part later. We'll get to the
Yeah.
utopian part later, because we have to talk a lot about that.
But the fact that two different species who do not understand each other's language, or
Mm.
don't have a direct mode of
Mm.
communication, etc., they have a very very important task at hand. They want to save their
Mm.
respective planets, and they need to figure out a way together.
Yes, 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 yes.
So
So
that whole idea itself is very beautiful. And like you mentioned, this nerdiness, one is a
mm.
science teacher, one is an engineer, and it's like the best kind of people who could join
Yes,
hands to go
yes,
about this thing. And it really warms my heart as a teacher myself, that it's a teacher who gets to make the first contact with
yeah, yeah,
somebody from outer space, although
yes.
reluctantly. He was not willing to go, he was forced to go, but
Yeah,
still.
yeah, yeah. I put the knot in the astronaut.
Yes.
Yeah, regarding the linguistic part, you've been saying about how in the book it was so elaborate. So people who haven't read the book, so the thing is, the book actually, he first doesn't know, he will be like how he will be shouting, he will be using a lot of words, but he that guy, Rocky will be like showing these gestures, and for the first time only he will be hearing like, oh, these are musical notes. So that's how he
Hmm.
connects how that's how he connects. Okay, these are musical notes. So what can I do? Okay, so for different musical notes, okay, how it responds. So he gives some sample words and how it responds. So from that sample words, he makes his own Excel sheet, of Excel spreadsheet, and with the with the MIDI is of course musical interface, for people who don't know, not the MIDI in costumes, but the MIDI in this in music production. There is something called MIDI, which is musical instrument digital interface. So musical instrument digital interface is where people, if you are someone who learned keyboard or something like that, you might get this point. So in keyboard there's this point port called MIDI cable port. So if you connect the MIDI cable to your system, you can compose the music in your compose the with the different keys. If you have if you have a suitable software for that. For example, there is some software like music FL Studio or Adobe Audition like that. So if you have your own keyboard, means a musical keyboard, if you press one key, so it will convert it into analog that signal will be converted to digital. So there's a digital in this MIDI cable will act as a digital interface for that musical instrument. So that is why in the movie they don't really explain a lot of what is MIDI, stuff like that. But in the book, they explain what is MIDI and how this MIDI, with this he uses Fourier transform. Fourier transform is a mathematical it's another mathematical field, mathematical subject where you just if you have a lot of signals, means to process that signals into separate signals, we use Fourier transform, which is used in a lot of other aspects, like in espionage services. I mean, in spy services, when you have to track someone's call, means people, what spy agencies do itself, just they use this Fourier transform to separate that one particular voice and that particular voice to see how
So just in
who's
general signal processing also, like
yeah
you have a
yeah yes
complicated wave, you break down it into simpler waves. That's all.
yeah. So signal processing. So a lot of so you have a lot of
You're
complicated ways.
going
And
all the way to espionage. I thought of giving such simpler example.
so that's the basic part of, that's the basic gist of Fourier transform. So what Ryland Grace does himself for using this Fourier transform, he writes his own program. I think he uses C++ or Fortran, something like that. I don't know exactly what he uses.
Doesn't
Only,
matter.
because he says it doesn't matter, because he says basic program. I know basic programming, he says, so let's consider he uses C++, something like that. And using this sorry, C++ program, MIDI, and his Excel spreadsheet, he decodes the language, and from that only he understands what he's saying. So basically, he creates his own translator too. So there's this one, I actually saw this one Instagram creator who made his own version of this Rocky translator. So I'll mention
Oh,
the link here. So I'll check it out. Even I tried my own version of it using some gibberish voices, but yeah, I couldn't actually decode it, because for my own gibberish, I was like, if you are making your own, if I'm saying means, I in the next part I won't say the same, I will say like the different kind of right? So like that. So I couldn't make my I mean, it was like total shambles, but I had my own fun in
you
terms
should
of this.
try doing that with a like a dog's bark or something like that. That
Yeah,
will be
yeah, yeah.
fun. Why
Actually,
not?
exactly.
Rocky is like an animal with a different language. You should try it with
Exactly.
him.
Rocky is actually people. Why people connected with
It's like
this
a
movie
pet.
a lot?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's
It's
like,
like exactly. I mean, pet is maybe derogatory for someone as intelligent as Rocky, but
yeah, yeah,
you get the
yeah.
idea.
I mean,
Yeah,
what derogatory? I mean, he's a cute little guy. We would have like. So,
yeah, yeah.
I mean, some people consider pets as their family too in their home. So let's consider
Yeah,
him
yeah,
as
yeah.
a family.
Derogatory, I mean, in the sense that lower intelligence in that sense, but that's not
Ah,
the
okay,
case.
okay.
Yeah.
But animals in the animals always have been intelligent in their own ways. I mean, again, Rocky is intelligent in his own way. Even Rylan Grace himself acknowledged, right? Rocky is intelligent in his own way. I'm intelligent in my own way. So both of them
Yeah,
can
yeah,
bridge
yeah.
that gap. So just like that, uh, even I just like as you said about dogs. So people understanding dogs is what I mean. It
Hmm.
could have been the inspiration for this thing. So I would be surprised of how dogs will be like. If they will be saying like this dog is Western breed, but when they are in this home, they'll be with our Tamil itself, with our Telugu itself, they'll understand. Okay, kuchara
Yes.
means it will sit. So I mean it's pretty surprised. It still fascinates me how dogs understand different language despite their origin is from a different country, something like that. So that
Mm-hmm.
always fascinates me a lot. So yeah, so so that I wanted to mention because as Vasundhara herself said, how linguistics plays a lot of role, and this actually bridges in a way this be it Arrival and Project Hail Mary, this bridges the gap between the soft science and hard science that people say, right? So
Yeah.
soft science and hard science bridges the gap. So tell what do you think about this perception of soft science and hard science in society, and how do you think this works like this make you feel like we need to this should be in a, this should be treated in equal parts?
So, can you clarify a bit what do you mean by soft science and hard science?
Soft science like linguistics stuff like that is called soft science, and where doesn't require a lot of they say I mean sociology, psychology, some
Okay.
psychology, they are soft sciences, and hard sciences is are physics, chemistry, biology.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, okay. As somebody who is working in kind of a liberal arts kind of university where students study everything, I think this kind of education is necessary, because also coming from a hardcore science background since my 11th 12th grade, and then not having any exposure to social sciences and all, I feel like there's been a lack of education in my life in that because I live in a society. I should
Hmm.
now know how things should function in
In
society,
society.
and not just how devices function or how the
Hmm.
universe works at a large scale or whatever.
Yeah.
So we we have kind of restricted ourselves a lot by creating the system where
Hmm.
you put subjects in a box, that once you choose the science stream you cannot do other things,
Yeah.
or once you choose the arts stream you cannot do other things. So that is not something that helps you with your own personal development, like overall development, right? So it's good that films like this are exploring different aspects of human learning. Science
Hmm.
fiction doesn't necessarily have to mean it's only science. So even like the kind of camaraderie that Project Hail Mary has, it if not directly, it indirectly comments something about social dynamics, or
Yes.
how people behave with other people in a situation where they're lonely or they have to get things done. There's a lot of psychological aspects to it. We
Yes.
also talk about the loneliness that Ryland faced in space for a long time, and
Yes.
after all
Yes.
his colleagues, they died. um, and also in Arrival, the linguistics part, because linguistics is not uh, considered as a science as such, like the hard science kind of thing you're saying, but it also involves studying patterns and understanding things
Hmm.
based on evidence, and making conclusions based on that. So if that is what it takes, then I would call it a science. Why not? So there is this bias among people that you have a certain level of intelligence if you're doing physics or chemistry, and not so much if you're doing something like sociology and linguistics. So these biases have to be done away with, I think.
Yes, yes, yes. So I wish that we throw off this bias in some day or the other with in terms of our country our terms of our country, where we don't consider linguistics, sociology, something like psychology as serious sciences. So I wish we
Yeah.
would consider that as, I mean, with works like this, we would get some, we would
Problem is
get
in India, everyone looks at it from the perspective of job and employment,
money.
not so much about learning. So
Yeah.
what should you study that will get you a stable job
Uh,
faster? So that's why engineering was very popular when I was in school and still is. But now it's like AI ML because everyone is doing AI ML. So you go do data science and you get a job at an MNC. Yeah. That's been the outlook most of the time. Yeah.
yes. So I wish we the outlook changes a lot in the future regarding this. So yeah. So in terms of so we were talking about another thing called the utopian idea of Andy Weir's writing. Because in Martian too, there is in Martian. I recently rewatched after a very long time. I recently rewatched the whole film. Recent this week I rewatched. So I read the novel too a long time ago. So yeah, so in that movie, every in that movie, for to save one guy in Mars, all of the whole country itself comes into the rescue, and they even ask China for help. A country like USA asks China for help. They also say, okay, we can help you. So they use their help to save him. So everyone is selfless in that movie too. In that novel or movie too, everyone is selfless in the first place. So that's in even in this even in Project Hail Mary, you can see how even a person like Eva Stratt played by Sandra Hüller, of course. So Eva Stratt has to assemble a lot of people from different nations. She has the power to do anything, which is again another giant leap of fiction. Yet okay, we don't really talk about how reality be, but yeah. So how she herself, she in one way she also acknowledges how how countries like USA won't uh, won't really share their resources in 30 years, when this dimming of sun occurs. So she even acknowledges this point, and how how this one Hail Mary mission can and unity will make us go will solve this problem. So he has this utopian optimism in his Andy Weir's writings a lot. I could say, which is again it's not possible in a real world, but he has this optimism throughout this writing. So what do you think about this optimism he's trying to say? So you have actually touched upon it, so it would be better if you can brief a lot on it.
Yes. Optimism is good, but yeah, we all know. I don't know if actually something like this happens in the future, like the entire planet is at stake. I think people would still focus on themselves, and the rich people will get certain advantages, and the not so rich people will suffer. That's bound to happen. It's
Yes.
just it's sad, but that is what's going to happen because there's a reason why the economic divide has been increasing and increasing, and the reason is in times of crisis only the people with access to resources will be able to safeguard themselves. Okay,
Yes.
so obviously it's very utopian and unrealistic, but humanity has always hoped for better things, and we are nothing without hope. So there's
Yes.
some idea, no matter how far fetched it seems, you have to hold on to that somehow.
Yes.
That
Definitely.
it's inherent goodness and faith in inherent goodness of humanity has to be there. Otherwise, there's no point in anything is
Mm.
what I believe. So
The-
actually, on my post, somebody commented, and I did not reply because I did not know what to reply. Like I said, this kind of film is the need of the hour. Someone wrote, "I'm not sure that a white American
Mm.
on a mission to save everyone on the planet is the need of the hour," and it kind of made sense from a certain angle because of everything that's happening in the world right now. Uh,
There. Yeah.
so I could not counter that argument, to be honest, because there's definitely a white supremacy kind of thing in these kind of stories
Yes.
also.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I think the only kind of person of color kind of character was this guy who
Yeah,
was he
yeah,
black? The guy who was helping
yeah.
out
Carl,
while
Carl,
doing his
Carl,
experiments.
Carl.
Carl, right, right. So then, okay. I mean, also
Even
if
you
the
got
thing is,
even
if
you
you,
got Tao, the Chinese person.
oh yeah, 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 yeah. But okay, China is a developed country in some sort. That's
I mean,
fine.
person
But
of
I'm
color
saying
in
like,
that.
like yeah. But if you're focusing on the global south kind of place, so
Yeah,
you obviously, if I am writing a story, I'll probably have an Indian protagonist. If I
yeah,
were
yeah,
an American, I would have an American protagonist. That would come naturally to me.
yeah,
But
yeah.
also, do you know there's another book by Andy Weir, this Artemis, about
Artemis.
moon
He
colonization.
full colonization. I haven't
Yeah,
read that
and
yet, so I will be reading
I
that.
also haven't read, but the protagonist there is an
Person.
Arab woman, if I'm not wrong.
Okay, okay, okay. Sounds
Yeah, so
interesting.
that's interesting. Yes. So I want to read this book to see how he has
Hmm.
represented her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we should. I am also excited to read it because
Her name
after,
is Jasmine Bashara. The name of
yeah,
the she's a Saudi
right.
Arabian woman who is the protagonist of the story.
He wrote this
So
after the
so
Martian, it seems.
yes, but before Hail Mary.
Yeah, before him.
Yes. So I only heard of this book after reading Hail Mary. So I was just looking up what else he has written.
Same,
Um,
same here, same here.
so there's always this question of representation, and if representation itself is some kind of tokenism, just to ensure diversity. So it's a very gray area, you know.
Hmm.
So we don't know like what is the correct answer. But speaking of optimism and all,
Hmm.
I think it's important to have it in some way or the other. If you become too like pessimistic or how do you say like
Yeah.
nihilistic, you don't
Hmm.
care what's going on in the world, like that's not how I see the world at least.
Too much of anything is good for nothing, they say, but sometimes we need some kind of optimism. I mean, if it's the good spectrum, means sometimes we need that goodness at a certain amount in our life to solve certain problems, to view the world in a different way. So in a way, Project Hail Mary kind of uh, ushers that the techno optimism a lot with this regard. With the, as you said, how even after as the years go by, the economic divide is increasing. With, so, ironically, this novel was released during the pandemic time, COVID pandemic time. So, yeah, ironically, so how I mean, in a way, it talks about isolation. It mirrors a lot. It mirrors a lot on how people reacted in COVID a lot. COVID, how world nations reacted in COVID, even with today's crisis too. We are facing a lot. How in minimal ways or in small ways or large ways we are being
And it's
affected. So
also involves the study of new kinds of microorganisms.
yes, yeah. So it's something different. Yeah. So I mean, yeah. One even in the book two, they would be mentioning how only in crisis times only these kind of researchers are given funds in the first place. So
Yes.
one of the most interesting aspects during COVID was that when asked about why scientists aren't producing vaccines for common cold or something like that in a high fast state, most of them said that in I mean one of this Spanish doctors interview at that time, they were saying that if only when a disaster arrives, after we are getting this funding. So you are asking to produce the solution in a short time. Then how can we do this requires a lot of procedures to arrive to a conclusion. Just because it doesn't arrive in like burst of a moment, the solutions won't arrive, is what they said. So in a way, the film and the movie and the book too, how mirrors how scientific funding is in a way uh, world world nations treat So that's in a way he just touches upon it, but
That's a
still
good analogy.
that's yeah, sorry.
I said that's a good analogy that you have made with the
Yeah, yeah,
COVID.
yeah. So yeah, that's one of the interesting aspects this book and this movie dealt with. I wanted to appreciate on it. And another important aspect is that we talked about we have to loneliness, this loneliness. So is lonely space loneliness in space is not something new. It's not something new in fiction. Of course, we saw in Interstellar. We saw in this movie, this Sam Rockwell movie called Moon. There is this 2009
Yeah,
movie called
I was
Moon.
just going to talk about Moon. Yeah, I think not a lot of people have watched it. It also it
Yes.
reminded me when I watched, Mickey 17. It was
Mm,
very
Daniel
similar to,
Robert
yeah.
Pattinson movie.
He's like an expendable person.
Yeah, yeah,
In Project Hail Mary, also he was an expend like if he died, nobody cared.
yeah, yeah. He is also an expendable. Yeah, 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 yeah. So
Hmm.
Moon is another great movie. I mean, people who are listening to this, please to watch this movie, 2009 movie called Moon, which stars Sam
Yes.
Rockwell. Sam Rockwell. So this movie has this where in a far future where a moon colonization happens, and one of they send this one astronaut there, and he himself clones. So the clones himself a lot after dying. So how he uses his clones to make this research possible. So it's a survival thriller. So if anyone wants to watch it, please to watch Moon 2009 movie. It's a great movie. Another thing, and another loneliness in space. It's movie is Gravity, of course. The Martian himself, Andy Weir himself wrote it. And another movie, Ad Astra. So Ad Astra is a Brad Pitt movie. So people might
Yes.
have watched it, I guess. If I haven't, please to
I
watch it.
haven't watched it yet. Hmm.
Okay, please to watch it. Won't say great, but it's good. It's good actually. So it was good actually.
Hmm.
So in this regard, I want to talk about how loneliness in this movie is portrayed. What do you think? What were your views on this in this movie's loneliness portrayal?
Uh, First of all, this whole idea of coma was induced. I mean,
Hmm.
even if people were there, because space can make you go crazy. Like for long distance, you cannot see anything, and then it's like 3 4 people in a particular confined space. It's like Big Boss in some way.
Yes, yes,
So you can go crazy with no contact with the outer world in some sense.
yeah.
Um, but then the fact that his co-passengers also died, and then just
Hmm.
completely threw him off. So that's also the reason why I think he didn't surrender to the feeling of fear when it came to Rocky. Obviously, he was scared a little bit, but he was like,
Yeah,
I will take that leap and uh,
and see what
try to
goes
communicate
on
no
then.
matter what happens. Exactly,
Yeah,
because there's
yes,
nothing to lose,
yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah, yeah.
there's lose, like people might die, but then this mission was to begin with. It's not guaranteed to be a success, so
Yes, yes.
he took that chance. And I think that's also what happens when we are lonely in, like, in our own lives. We sometimes make very rash decisions, or
Yes, yes,
like,
yes.
making friends. Like Rocky turned out to be a good person, good friend, but
Mm.
it may not always be the case. So you can be putting yourself in danger, like
Mm.
because you become very needy or something. You reach out
Mm.
to people who could be toxic to you, could be harmful for your mental health, and then you end up doing these things, or feeling very lonely and ending up texting an ex. Very easy example, which you should not have done. Something
Not
like that.
relatable, not relatable to me, but it should be relatable for our followers. So, yeah,
Yes, it's
for the listening.
possible.
Yeah, yeah.
Loneliness can make you do crazy things, and the kind of contact he makes with Rocky is also something crazy. It went in a good direction, is partly
Mm.
luck, obviously.
But what if it doesn't? I mean, that's another possibility. But he took the leap of that because a man who doesn't have anything is nothing to lose there. So he took the leap there. I mean, even in the book also he says, should I be the lone savior of my planet, or just be the first guy to make the contact? So that's the dilemma he says, right, in the book too. In the movie also, he himself acknowledges it a lot. So yeah, this space in itself makes you go crazy a lot with that loneliness and stuff like that. I mean, there's this another movie called 2019 movie called Lucy in the Sky, which stars Natalie Portman. So it's
Oh,
based on Lisa. It's based on a real life NASA astronaut called Lisa Novak. The movie basically focuses on after she comes to Earth, she faces a lot of distancing to in reality, how her reality in the space station and how her life here is pretty different. It's pretty different from how it's pretty different, and how
I
she
have not heard
tries
of this movie actually.
this movie is pretty interesting. This is one of the rare movies how shows how psychological effects of space travel and psychological effects of space travel in a person. So this is one interesting movie, Lucy in the Sky. It's available on Hotstar, I guess. So yeah, so this is one interesting movie, Lucy in the Sky. So anyone has not watched it, please do watch it. It's something interesting movie. So yeah, everyone should watch it. Yeah, regarding, so yeah, people I mean, he himself, for Ryan Gosling, acting as a loner is now different because he has done the same with the first man, another great movie on Apollo 11 mission. He did that.
Yeah, first
uh,
one
he,
I've
he
seen.
he in that movie he lost his the film. In that movie he lost his daughter. He would be grappling with the grief, and with that grief he goes to moon mission, and there in the moon mission he goes there. So
This
uh,
reminds me, this recent Artemis to one of the astronauts, he actually
mm,
lost his wife a few years ago. And
yeah, they
yeah,
named a cat. They made a crater there in the moon after her last wife. So that's the real real reminding of real, or real meets real, of course. But yeah, so for him, for Ryan Gosling is not new to portraying loner roles, but he did this with but there's a distinction here. He shows a lot of distinction with this regard, the loneliness he shows in Project Hail Mary. He has this own guilt of not being with his own crewmates. Even they, one of the most interesting changes with the book and the novel is how they showed him how he treats the crewmates, dead crewmates. Even if he doesn't remember anything, he recites eulogies to them. So that made it interesting. That gave him a bit of a layer of character to that loneliness he experiences. So that I loved it so much, and how he himself emotes a lot. That emotion he brings in, whenever a close up of him crying, we also cry a lot. So that's so great, powerful of an actor is, like Kamal Hassan, Shah Rukh Khan, something like the leagues of that, I would say. So,
yeah.
so let me put a segue on what other performances you liked about this film. I mean, I said a lot about Ryan Gosling, so, and of course Rocky. We
Sandra
have done.
Holler, obviously.
Yeah,
Uh, I loved her in Anatomy of a Fall.
Anatomy of Fall.
Yes,
Zone
she's
of
a great
Interest too.
actor.
She was great. Zone of
Oh
Interest.
yes, yes, she was there
Zone of
also.
interest
Yes.
that was there. Mm. I had the
Hmm.
initial fear of when they first said they an Hollywood production is casting Sandra Hüller in Hollywood blockbuster. At first my thought was, okay, they are gonna ruin this, man. They are gonna ruin her reputation a lot, because this has happened with a lot of European actors before, like Alicia Vikander. They put it in. They
Hmm.
have cast it Tomb Raider live action, and you know what happened with
Yes.
that. So
Yeah.
uh, so I thought they are gonna ruin her reputation of acting with this regard. And Monica Bellucci, of course, after coming to Hollywood, they made her into a uh, eye candy roles.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Monica Bellucci. So like that,
Yeah.
I thought, but fortunately, they gave a justified role in this regard with Eva Strat. who is so cold and more more onto the books. Yet she also has her own empathy, which is shown in that karaoke scene again.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That was only in the movie. That was not part of the
yeah,
book.
yeah, yeah, they did their great change there. I mean, with Harry's Tale, Sign of the Times usage, Needle
Hmm.
Drop was something amazing in that regard. So Eva Strat, Sandra Hüller as Eva Strat did a great, and of course, uh, Rocky. I mean, we can consider Rocky's role also. James Artis, who gave the
Yes,
voice acting. So yeah,
yes, yes.
he also did the puppetry for this. His team did the puppetry, so
Okay.
that was great. That was great. And I mean, with minimal characters itself, I mean, it's a minimal setup movie, but still with that they gave a lot of grand spectacle, the awe a lot with this movie, I guess. So that's
Hmm.
something interesting, I would say. That's something I would say interesting. And I think we we talked a lot about what are the other things. I mean, we talked about performances here, and we can talk a lot about, I think, cinematography, music, and stuff like that. So what made you technically appreciate this movie a lot, apart from the science, apart from the themes, apart from the performances?
No, obviously it was visually spectacular, and the music just helped boost the atmosphere. I keep listening to the whole album now and then.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, my favorite part, actually, is the music when the two spaceships were kind of trying to
Hmm.
align, and that
Hmm.
I think that's the Amaze
I'm,
music,
hmm.
probably.
No, not Amaze Amaze, but it's a
No.
different track. But fine, 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 fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Whatever the name of that track is, I
Yeah, yeah,
enjoyed it.
yeah.
It sounded very, I don't know, kind of
Whimsy,
tribal music kind of vibe.
whimsy.
Tuck, 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 tuck. This one. Yeah. Um. Uh. But cinematography. Who was the cinematographer again? I forgot the name.
Greg Fraser.
Yes, yes. Is the same person who has done like
Dune, Batman,
Dune,
Dune, Batman.
Batman.
Yeah,
Yes, yes. So obviously he has a reputation for good cinematography.
yeah,
But this
yeah.
was so different from Dune, which was like all sandy, and this was very colorful. The Project Hail Mary, I like the fact that it's very uh,
Vibrant.
vibrant. Exactly, that was the word I was looking for. Very colorful, vibrant, and that kind of infuses the whole idea of hope and optimism that we have been talking about.
And the way it
Yeah.
uses the cinematography it uses for earth scenes is like 2.26 is to 1, and uh,
Yes, yes,
for the
different
space
aspect
scenes
ratio.
1.43 is to 1. They use the aspect ratio changes a lot in this movie, which was so amazing. It was so amazing to see. I mean, I love this. Personally, I love this aspect ratio transitions a lot with movies.
Hmm.
Of course, with movies like Sinners, we had this
Right.
montage sequence. A lot of sequence in the movie has this IMAX transition sequence, and Mission Impossible, the last part too, had this, and last part had this. So love these transition a lot, and this movie it took it to a next level of how there. I mean, if the earth scenes, there is a haziness you can see a lot in the earth
Hmm. Hmm.
scenes,
Hmm.
which shows like how his memory is kind of faded. There's a faded memory in, you can feel the faded memory in that whole earth sequences a lot. So over the progression only, that haziness just gets removed a lot. So uh, that visual distinction is what I loved in this movie a lot. And I loved how he uses how our man Greg Fraser used vertical anamorphic lenses to just physically without any cropping. He utilized the whole sensor to use this whole sensor to use to shoot these space sequences. And they had to. I also love this transition. I also love how the transition were not done in post, but in production itself, by running the whole digital film into a analog and making this squeezing effect. So that I
Hmm.
loved it. And that sensibility, even Christopher Miller and Tom and Phil Lord says that they want to give a Scooby Doo gooey effect. Scooby Doo effect,
Oh,
they
right.
said.
Hmm.
Scooby Doo, which again goes back to their animation background. They have done these animation films, Cloudy with the Chance of Meatballs franchise and Spider-Verse franchises. So they have this experience of how to blend the animation sensibilities medium to into live action medium. So that ingenuity is what made this film more interesting in a way. I loved it so much with this.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, yeah, of course, music by Daniel Pemberton. Pemberton was amazing, and one of the moments that made me sob a little was the moment of they used the Beatles song, the Two of Us song in the end, because
Yes.
they in the movie, in the book itself, in the first episode, they say about the space, the spaceships, they are how they in itself mini computers, they are named after John, the members of the Beatles. They say in the book first itself, but in the movie is one revealed at the end, and that reveal was pretty good. I mean, if I don't know what would have been the effect if they had said it at the beginning, but in the end, being someone who listens to a lot of Beatles, it may be and the song also with Two of Us.
There's a lot of tribute to Beatles here with this what the things he was sending the
Yeah,
information in to
yeah,
they were named after the Beatles members like Paul,
Beatles members. Yeah,
Ringo.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, even in the book too, he says this. I dedicate this to for Paul, John, for John, Paul, George, and Ringo. So he says
Yes,
this
yes, yes.
for Paul, John,
Right.
Paul, Ringo. So yeah, so that made me cry a lot as a Beatles admirer. So that I loved it so much. And regarding tribal music, you said the feel that in the last final act also they use this Maori song Po
Yeah.
Atorwa in the last.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, in the last one, which was so good actually. Po Atorwa, Po Atorwa, which is like a Maori farewell in translating. So
Hmm,
yeah,
hmm.
so that was something interesting to see. And I mean, edit was the large part, because as we said in the beginning, how they edited three and a half hour footage into 2.5 hours they had to reduce. So that was interesting. And in we have the editor Joel Negron, who is the editor of this film. Yeah,
Hmm.
so yeah, that I wanted to appreciate. And production design, of course. I mean, with the minimal setup, they didn't show a lot of spaceship sequence, but in the moment they wanted to use the spaceships grandiose, it was grand. Even when you want to feel the confined, the claustrophobic feel, it the production design made us feel the claustrophobic feel of Rail and Grace a lot. So
Yeah,
that
and so
that
it was created on set. It was not some green
yeah,
screen or anything. It
yeah,
made
that
it
was,
authentic. Yeah.
yeah, practical set which was so authentic. And yeah, so that was something another interesting aspect. But we both haven't mentioned this guy who is the actual screenplay writer of this movie, who is Drew Goddard, was also been the screenwriter of Martian and other great
Mm-hmm.
movies. This guy deserves a lot of credit to make this movie more accessible to a lot of audience. So regarding, I mean, let's put the segue to. I mean, we have come to the closing part of this episode. So yeah, I mean, this made me feel there is something rejuvenated the need for a children's and more teens medium, something that cinematic curiosity in media, which was lost for a while, because all the movies that in the current climate is coming, like it dictates on how to make you feel, and not just that makes you feel like you should search for this. So I
Mm-hmm.
want to ask you on how I feel that this movie reignited that media curiosity a lot, and the need for children's media a lot. So what do you think about that? Regardless.
Yes, definitely. And I think the rating was PG-13, if I'm not wrong, but
Yeah.
I think like under 13 people can also, there's maybe a little bit of like death and stuff like that. That's why, whatever. But it did not have any. profanity or
Yeah.
anything that would prevent children from watching it. So that way, I think it kind of brought back that children's science fiction nostalgia that films like E.T. had created back then. Since then, we have had a lot of science fiction films, but they're not targeted towards the young audience as such. Even this is
Mm.
not like targeted, but it it's
It
good
made it.
for children who like young people who are just getting interested in science, or are interested in reading up different kinds of things, or the kind of experiments or exhibitions they do in school, these kind of people. And
Yeah.
even if someone is not very much into science, they would also love it, because like I always say, good science fiction film should have a heart, which it
Yes.
has. So I have friends who are not very much into sci-fi, but they went ahead and watched it because someone
Yes.
um convinced them that you should, and they loved it. So there's always a question. I got messages from people asking, "Oh, I am not like a very nerdy person. Would I still enjoy?"
Mm.
I said, "You'll enjoy it nonetheless. Just go and watch it.
Yes.
Then decide later on." So that kind of openness towards everybody, that you don't have to fall in the bracket of being a science nerd to enjoy this,
Mm.
uh, is something that we need once again in cinema.
Yes.
And
But yeah,
obviously,
but Hollywood would take the wrong lessons in this regard. So that's the most weird thing about Hollywood, because they would take the wrong lessons from this movie's success. So yeah, so I want
wrongly,
them to take that,
what kind of wrong lessons?
because after Barbie, when Barbie was made a great success, what they did was they made a whole announced the lineup of films based on Mattel's toys.
Oh,
Not the
right,
point
right.
on not the point on how feminism and feminist storytelling can be made entertaining or accessible, and more visibility to
Understood.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
So the stuff like that. So that's the thing I think people should, I mean Hollywood executives, or even our film executives, should understand what
Yeah,
is the real
so
success factor.
they just they just understand from this that there's a formula that will work, which is happening a lot in India also. It's like
Yeah,
somehow all these alpha masculine kind of
shoot
heroes
it
have
out,
made
shoot
a
it out, shoot it
comeback.
out, shoot it out the names, no problem.
No, you know what I'm talking about. And it's like not
Yeah,
just
yeah.
in Bollywood, it's
Mm,
everywhere.
mm,
And all,
mm,
if
yeah,
you
yeah,
go
yeah,
on
yeah.
Book My Show, all these upcoming movies, all the posters look the same, like this some hyper masculine guy with a cigarette and then
Cigarette,
long hair or this kind of
guns,
thing. Yeah.
guns and stuff like
Not
that.
just Durandar, like it's
Yeah, yeah,
every.
yeah. We're not saying not, that movie alone. There has been a lot of movies after 2018, 2015. So
So
yeah,
where is that softness? Uh, because what I notice in Ryland Grace, and many people, especially women, they were mentioning a lot on the internet, the, his whole look, like he wears cardigans, and
mm,
he has messy hair, and his glasses is kind of hanging on his chin,
mm,
like very very nerdy, adorable kind of non-problematic kind of person, which we
yes,
don't see so much anymore, at least in
yes.
from
Screen
Indian
on screen.
films. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know in Hollywood how is it going, but also we are getting a lot of action films in Hollywood also. But there's nothing wrong in action films, but
yeah,
there
yeah.
has to be a preservation of that soft masculinity somewhere, is what I feel.
Yes, yes,
Because
yes,
those are the kind of men I want to see around me, those are the kind of men I want to keep in my life, the
yes,
kind of, whether it's a partner or a friend or a brother, I want to be surrounded by these kind of men who want to ask questions, who are open to criticism, who want to figure out life's answers through various trial and error methods. So that's more realistic to me. So like cinema has its own thing, and I'm not saying you only portray one kind of men, but this
mm,
should not get lost.
yes.
Yeah.
So there should be a diversity of male characters that should be portrayed in movies. It's what you want to emphasize a lot on this. So Before going to our closing thoughts, any negatives you felt in this film in this regard apart from the book and uh, film adaptation? We talked a lot about this stuff. So apart from that, anything that bothered you a lot in this regard? Any
Not
negative?
really, not really. I had a good time. I mean, I only things I had to say was with respect to the book, because you had
Yeah.
to cut out a lot of the scientific steps and this and that.
Mm.
So otherwise, I mean, I would love to watch it again. Maybe I could point out something then, but I did not watch it with a lens, with a critical lens. I watched it with
Yes.
a lens of wonder. You know, the kind
Yes.
of wonder I
Definitely.
felt after
Definitely.
reading the book.
Same. Same here. Same
So
here.
I could be critical as a scientist also, or this and that, but I think I didn't want to subject myself to that
I mean, we
kind of
talked a lot about
dimensions.
how different how real science and real science is with this in this film in this regard
Yeah,
a
for
lot.
creative liberty and for storytelling and for dramatic purposes, there
Mm.
are things people do, and I think it should be fine.
Yeah,
Otherwise, there will be no story to tell as such. Everyone is very concerned about, oh, this part of the thing, this part of the story was wrong, and I know a lot about it because this is my deep expertise. Then it becomes a problem. You know.
yeah. And coincidentally, Artemis 2 was launched with this film's this film's talk around the town, and
Hmm.
Artemis 2 was also launched. So there has been a kind of the wonder of space, wonder towards space, is kind of reignited a lot in this regard with in the past 2 weeks, past 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, even one
I
of the astronauts said, "Amaze, amaze, amaze."
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, in the live stream, I
Yeah.
saw Artemis to live stream,
Yes. Yes.
so that was something so amazing. I mean, it's becoming cultural milestone. The movie is becoming cultural milestone. Is what we can say. I
Hmm.
think. I think my biggest gripe with the movie, I literally don't have anything biggest gripe with the movie as well, because same as yours, we talked about how book to movies, there are problems arises with this. I mean, it caught the essence right in the first place, so that is great. I wish it could have been longer, but it's not. It's not a biggest gripe, of course, because if you feel like it should be longer means it's the movie's biggest compliment is what I feel. So
Hmm.
I mean, we want to be, we want to engage with the journey for a longer time. As in one of your post regarding in another movie called Telugu movie, you wrote about it, Middle Class Melodies. So
Oh
it
yes.
explained it with the sine wave and
Oh,
how
you remember that? Yeah.
yeah. So how how
The story
how we want
continues.
how the story continues, how we linger onto the journey for some time, and how the longing itself is a big compliment. You said it that post, I remember. So I mean, I want to reference that post connect with the post in this regard, Project Hail Mary. So I yeah, of course, and
Very
maybe the
interesting
only
connection.
you didn't expect that, right? Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah. So but the thing is I my not my biggest gripe, but for audience, for other audience might feel like the template would be the same. So they might feel like there's nothing new with this template. So people who want to be like, they want to see the story, they want to be like this story, this they want to see for every 5 minutes there should be like explosion, something like that, they would be disappointed in that regard. So
Hmm.
yeah, so they want to be more open-minded with this movie, I would say. So
This is something you watch as a therapeutic process, right? You just sit back and let yourself get immersed. It's not an adrenaline kind of stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's true. It's true. So I think we can. I think we talked a lot. So so we are closing. We have reached the end of the episode. So any closing thoughts you have the movie?
I
I mean,
just wish
anything you
more.
left out? Anything you left out to talk about this? Something like that you can share it in this closing
No,
thoughts section.
this ending. I don't know. I saw in some news or post whatever that they're planning a sequel. I don't know if it's correct, but I don't think that will work very well. First of all, I think in the book as well as the movie, he stays back in the Rocky's planet. He does not go
Yeah,
back.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And he finds happiness there because he's a teacher. He just wants to teach. He finds students there also who are very enthusiastic, and he has new things to teach them because they don't know about radiation and relativity. So he's very
Yeah,
happy. But he also doesn't have family back home, or I don't know.
yeah,
He just kind of
yeah.
gave up
Again,
on his students who must have grown up by now and everything.
yes.
Um, but I feel like he did not feel very very much at home back on Earth, probably.
Yes.
And by the
Again,
time he would go back, people would have, like, people he knew must have died.
yes.
So that was interesting, like staying back there itself.
I mean, yeah. My closing. I mean, you actually connected a lot with my closing thought of this movie. So my closing thought is that how home. This movie reiterates the point of how home is not a place. Actually, it's a
The
feeling in the
people,
first place. It's a
yeah.
feeling in the first place. It's a feeling or a memory or it may be a person. So, so yeah. So people long for the. I mean, there's this some trend in Bollywood film Instagram, which Hindi film Instagram, which is Lord Ao Imran Khan, which is like. I mean, I'm not really good with pronunciation, so please
No, no,
correct
no,
me.
I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at the mention of this trend.
The Latao Imran Khan, which is like
Yeah, yeah.
they were
Good old
people want
times.
good old times. We want Imran Khan back in romantic roles, but they don't. People don't really want Imran Khan back in romantic roles. They want the feel
Yeah, they want
of
that feeling.
that feeling of how they watch Jane Tuya Janina, like that. Some
Hmm.
the movies like that. They want that feel to be back, be back, and not the person. So this is
Because
something
once
similar.
again, lack
Hmm.
of soft masculinity. It's
Yes,
kind of
yes.
that, it goes back to that also.
Yeah, yeah.
People are just tired to see men just beating each other up all the time.
Yeah, so that's why again for me the movie feels like a reiteration of how it defines home is not a person, not place, it's a feeling actually in the first place. So in a way Rocky is his home. So I Rocky and in Earth his students are his home. So yeah, so I feel that feeling it captured a lot like something like Mayagan did in Tamil. So people who are listening to this. And another closing thought is scientific communication. The movie,
Hmm.
scientific communication, how it emphasizes on scientific communication, because the promotion materials were with lot of scientific content creators in this regard for this for the promotion of this movie. How they had been to every popular scientific YouTuber
Right.
creator, and they made these interviews, stuff like that, to emphasis
Mm-hmm.
and even they also were part they also sent a mission. I mean Artemis 2 mission, they sent all the best wishes to them. um, the crew of Project Hail Mary did this. This as they say, they want to promote scientific communication with this movie a lot.
Hmm.
the, mo-
Yeah,
this
which
work.
is how it should be. You cannot talk science and detach yourself from
Yes.
communicating science
Yeah,
to the
so
public, right?
I mean, without communicating, the science is limited, right? So that's the thing. I
Yeah.
mean, we'll close this. We'll end this podcast here. So if people haven't watched Project Hail Mary yet, right now, please do watch it. It's still running in theaters right now as we are speaking. So I hope when this podcast releases, also it will be there in theaters. So please do watch it in theaters. So sell the movie from your side, Basundra. To
Yes, yes, definitely. And I guess if you have listened to the podcast this long, I'm sure you have already watched it. But that's also, if you have watched it, you should ask your friends and family to watch it too. Um, because there are still people who might be hesitating because it might not be their cup of tea or whatever. But a film like this is everyone's cup of tea, and this is what cinema is made for, I would say. So whoever you can catch on the street, just ask them to go and watch it. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. So, yeah, so we reached the end of this Project Hail Mary in-depth breakdown podcast. So, thank you, Vasundhara, for accepting my invite and talking about the film a lot. And thank you, Vasundhara, again for this collaboration. Thank
Thanks
you.
for inviting. It was a lot of fun. I hope some other movie like this comes up and we can again talk for more than 2 hours.
2.5 hours. Wow,
Almost,
wow.
yes.
Almost, yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, cool. So I mean, cool. We did this. So I think we covered most of the aspects. So if listeners listening to this, please to share your feedback either to me or Vasundhara regarding this episode. And if you have any interesting insights to share about this movie, please to do it. So thank you a lot, Henry. Vanakkam.
Bye.
Bye. Okay.
So I met an alien. He's kind of growing on me. At least he's not growing in me, which was a concern for a little while. I'm Grace. I'm gonna call you Rocky. Thumbs up. No, that's thumbs down. We do the thumbs up. It's close enough.